what I can tell you guys is my little demonstration here today is going to be about how easy it is to go four-wheel driving in your family four-wheel drive. So the people at Mitsubishi have given us a brand new Mitsubishi Triton for me to drive today, and what I can tell you, God's honour, I have not touched this car. I haven't touched the tyre pressures, I haven't cleaned it, I haven't put any fuel in it, I haven't done anything. My wife picked this car up from Mitsubishi on Monday, and I haven't adjusted it in any shape or form. So there's no tricks or any games or anything like that. I'll tell you about this car before we start. I had to write it all down because there's so much to remember. So this is a Triton GSR, which is the top of the line Triton. This is the latest and greatest. The name of the color of this car is Yamabuki Orange, for those of you that need to know. So this is the 6th generation of Triton. So this car comes with a 10-year warranty, providing you get it serviced at Mitsubishi. The retail price of this car is $63,840. It has a 2.4 litre twin turbo engine. It makes 150 kilowatts. It's got 470 Newton meters of torque. Has a 6-speed automatic. So this is the biggest Triton ever made, and I can tell you it's a big car. Cars are a lot bigger than they used to be. I'm sure you guys are all aware of this. So this car's 5.3 metres long, it's 1.9 metres wide, 1.8 metres tall, 3.1 metre wheelbase, and it weighs almost 2.2 tonnes. So this car can tow 3.5 tonnes, which seems to be the standard for most four-wheel drive utes these days. And what I can tell you guys, if you're an old fella like me, safety didn't used to sell. Back in the old days, in the 70s, what did we want? V8s and stripes, that's what you wanted. These days safety sells, so I'll tell you about the safety features of this car. It's been crash tested by ANCAP this year, so 2024. It has AEB, by the way, 5-star. It has AEB, adaptive cruise, blind spot alert, it has rear cross traffic alert, lane keep assist, road sign recognition, so if you're in a 60k zone, it will recognise that. If you're in a 40k work zone, it will recognise that as well. It has driver attention warning, which I have to tell you, if you're not looking where you're going, it recognises that straight away. And it has a 360-degree camera, so it's an awesome car. And what I'll tell you is, as I said, we haven't touched it, so you go Hilux, Triton, any of the Ranger, any of those sort of current four-wheel drive utes, they're all very, very capable. And what we're trying to, what we're going to establish today is just the way they are. They're pretty capable, and you don't really need to do anything to them to do mild off-roading. We got any serious off-roaders here today? We're not serious off-roaders. We're not going to talk about serious off-roading today. If you're going to do serious off-roading, the first thing I'd suggest you do is join a club. There's lots of clubs that do awesome four-wheel drive adventures every weekend, if you like, in a club atmosphere where people in the club, you can pick their brains for knowledge and so forth, and they're doing hardcore stuff. We're not going to talk about that today. We're just going to talk about basic four-wheel driving. So my old mate Jeff is going to hook me up now. Tanisha, quickly jump in the passenger seat. Come on. You have to hold the script for me. So guys, what I can tell you, in case you didn't already know, can you hear me, Gav? Yep. So what I can tell you, in case you didn't already know, is that Australia is currently experiencing a four-wheel drive explosion. So 4 of the top 5 selling cars in Australia last month were four-wheel drives. One of them was a soft-roader, a RAV4, but the rest of them were genuine four-wheel drives. If you're an oldie like me and you remember 20 years ago, who can remember the top selling cars, the top 4 selling cars in Australia 20 years ago? Can you remember? If you can't remember, I'll help you out. They were Commodore, Falcon, Camry and Magna, and of those cars only one of those nameplates still remains, which is Camry, of course. So many families are buying four-wheel drives these days as their first four-wheel drive experience, and what I can tell you, it's sort of fantastic for your leisure time activities like camping, fishing, diving, photography, etc. are made easier and more enjoyable with a four-wheel drive. So as I said, we're not going to cover hardcore four-wheel driving or anything like that today. We're just going to look at basic drive around the circuit. You got your seatbelt on, young lady? All right, so what is the single most important thing you need to know before you drive off in your four-wheel drive if you're going on a bit of adventure? Can anyone tell me, Gav? The most important thing you need to know is the weather. So there you go, because what you don't want to do is go heading off into the sunset and discovering that you're in a 100-year, once in a 100-year storm. So yeah, you might want to check the weather first. So the other thing I'm going to say to you guys is we're going to go for a bit of a burn around here, and my Triton is establishing four-wheel drive at the moment. I just did that with a flick of a switch. So most modern four-wheel drives, in fact I don't know any modern ones that you can't, it's generally just a rotary knob or a switch. You can chuck it into four-wheel drive. So I've got this in four-wheel drive low. I'm waiting for it to go in. There you go, in four-wheel drive low. So what that effectively does, guys, it multiplies the torque of the engine. In other words, it's like riding around on, remember the very first gear, and I mean first gear, on your 10-speed racer, where you'd be pedaling your backside off and not going very far, but you can climb up big hills and stuff like that. So that's effectively what low range gives you. So I'll just get myself lined up. So what I'm trying to show you here, guys, is just doing basic off-roading. And as I said, I haven't changed anything on this car at all. I haven't checked the tyre pressures or anything like that. Hopefully I won't fall off the ramp here. That would be rather embarrassing, Tanisha, don't you feel? Yeah, no, I won't fall off the ramp. But you'll find modern four-wheel drives are very capable, can do stuff like this quite easily. We'll go down the other side now. And we'll go over this slightly bumpy stuff. So the secret with four-wheel driving, folks, one of the biggest secrets I can tell you is to just take your time. If you're in a hurry all the time and you think you're going to do everything at 100 miles an hour, well I should say 160 kilometers an hour, 100 miles an hour, what I might say is that four-wheel driving is probably not for you. Maybe car racing's your sport instead. So as long as you just take your time and let the car do all the work, you'll find that basic four-wheel driving like this is actually very simple to do, and also quite enjoyable. I have to tell you, my instructors such as Daz and Gav over there, wave you two, there they are. Darren in particular, Darren is a 4 times, I'm going to embarrass him now, Darren is a 4 times national motor racing champion. Hi Dazza. So Dazza has raced at Bathurst for Ford Performance Racing in V8 Supercars. He did a couple of seasons in V8 Supercars back in the late 90s. He's won the Australian Sports Sedan Championship. He's won the Superkart Championship. He's done a whole bunch of stuff. And I can tell you that Daz did absolutely no four-wheel driving at all until he started working for me. And you enjoyed it, didn't you, Daz? Used to do passenger rides around our four-wheel drive track here. Hardly any training at all, so you can jump behind the wheel of a modern four-wheel drive and just let the car do all the work as we're doing now. Was that quite painless, Tanisha? Not bad. So we'll talk about tyre pressures now, guys, because one of the first things people will tell you when you start doing your sort of serious four-wheel driving is you need to start looking at tyres and tyre pressures and so forth. And what I can tell you, for pretty much every situation that we do road-based, we're going to tell you that you should be running around about 40 psi in a normal road car as your normal tyre pressure. However, when it comes to off-roading, and particularly once you get to doing serious off-roading, typically people will run much lower pressures than that. And the main reason for that is to elongate the tread of the tyre, in other words, to make the footprint of the tyre longer, but it will also help the tyre to conform to the contour of the road surface, if that makes sense to you. But what we're looking at today is just basic off-roading for someone who's never been four-wheel driving before. Get yourself to a better photography spot, get yourself to a better camping spot, and so forth. It's actually quite simple and quite easy for you to do because the modern cars are so capable, and it's just a matter of taking your time and doing everything at a nice slow pace and just let the car do the work for you. So we're going to talk about water crossings now that we're sitting up the top of the hill here, Tanisha. Nice to meet you here. So when it comes to water crossings in a standard sort of four-wheel drive, I would suggest that one of the smartest things for you to do first would be to check out the depth of the water, either by having a bit of a walk through it, or in some other means get one of your friends to walk through it for you and find out how deep it is. And basic rule of thumb for first timers is if it's below the doors, you can go through it quite easily. These things will go through water, no problem at all. I wish they had a water crossing here today. They have a water crossing in our permanent four-wheel drive circuit, which you would have driven past on your way down. And you'll find a modern four-wheel drive can do a water crossing at sensible depth quite easily. As you can see from Tanisha sitting in the passenger seat here, getting rocked around from side to side. When we start doing log crossings and stuff like that, it can get quite bumpy and heavy going. But once again, guys, if you just take your time and let the car do the work for you, you'll find that these cars will get you through absolutely no problem at all. Now, sometimes when you're doing demonstrations and talking on the microphone and looking at yourself up on the screen there, you'll miss the corner. So just to ensure that you don't drive off the side of our trailer here, you can just reverse back and have another go at it. That's my tip for the day. Now, the other thing I'll say to you guys, when it comes to four-wheel driving, if you're driving in an area where you're not real sure about clearances and so forth, and you do have a passenger, it's quite a good idea every once in a while to ask your passenger to jump out and give you a bit of a guide, because at the end of the day, you can't see the extremes of your car. You can't see the bottom right-hand corner of your car. You can't see the bottom left-hand corner of your car, and so forth. So in those situations, it's often a good idea for you to kick your passenger out and ask for a bit of a guide. Now, if you're sort of watching a car down here, you'll see it hopping and jumping and carrying on. And the reason why it's doing that is because we have, we're in low range four-wheel drive and we have the diff lock on. So it's important we understand, folks, that when the car is turning a corner, the outside wheels, for example, if we're making a right-hand turn, our left-hand side wheels will be traveling a larger distance than our right-hand side wheels will. So we get what's called transmission wind-up. So this occurs because you have the transmission locked in position, if you like. You've got, as I said, you've got one set of wheels going further than the others. So what I wouldn't suggest you do, and I'll tell you why this is not a problem on a gravel surface, gravel or a dirt surface. The reason why it's not a problem is because we've got some wheel slip here. So the wheels have a chance to unlock themselves, if you like. But if you watch the wheels when I go past you up here, you'll see they're sort of juddering a little bit and moving around. That's because the axles are locked in this position. And as I said, when we go around the corner, we have our outside wheels traveling a further distance than our inside wheels are. So I've just said it will happen. If you watch, it probably won't now, but it should. You'll see a bit of juddering and carrying on from the drive line of this car as we go around this corner here. So here's my summary for first time four-wheel drivers. As I said, if you really want to get into it, I would suggest one of the first things you should do is join a club. For example, there'll be a Mitsubishi four-wheel drive club. No doubt there's a Toyota Land Cruiser or Toyota Hilux four-wheel drive club. There's probably a Ranger four-wheel drive club, etc. I would suggest if you really want to get into serious four-wheel driving, the smartest thing you could probably do is join a club. They're going to teach you a lot more stuff than you'll ever learn from watching me burn around here. But in summary, what we're trying to say to you here is there's a massive explosion of four-wheel drive sales in Australia at the moment. Most of those cars will never go off-road unless they bounce off a roundabout or the driver parks them on a nature strip or whatever. Or for some people think that they're driving through a gravel car park, they're doing some four-wheel driving. I would suggest that, you know, if you want to get out in the great outdoors and do a bit of burning around, it's pretty straightforward and easy to do. Put your hand up if you're male. Go on, I can see you. Put your hand up if you're male. I can see you all. Another suggestion for you guys, this is going to be revolutionary. Wait, I'll get to the top of the hill first before I make this revolutionary statement. You might want to consider reading the owner's manual. Look at you guys. What? Read the owner's manual? Because you'll be surprised what you can learn about the vehicle you've got by simply reading the owner's manual. It'll teach you how to, or tell you how to put it into four-wheel drive, how to take it out of four-wheel drive, and so forth. It'll tell you how the car operates in different conditions. What I can tell you folks, I was actually supposed to be towing a Jayco Caravan around here, and it was actually quite a large Jayco Caravan as well. And I did this same demonstration at the showgrounds at the start of the year. And I can tell you that towing a caravan around here is a piece of cake. The reason why I had to unhook it is because I actually couldn't make this turn. So we've got the caravan off until I can convince these people to move the trailer. I've got the caravan off because I physically can't make it around the turn here. That's the only reason why I'm not towing the trailer today. So let's summarize. Number one, if you've got yourself a new four-wheel drive, I would suggest that you jump out and take it out in the bush and have a bit of fun with it. There's no need to go full on hardcore. If you're into photography or you're into fishing or camping or whatever, use that vehicle to your advantage. The other thing, as I said, you can start mucking around with tyre pressures and all that sort of stuff, but I can tell you the God's honest truth. I've jumped in this car. I don't even know how much fuel's in it. I can tell you now it's got 3/4 of a tank. It's the first time I've looked. I know it's a turbo diesel automatic. And honestly, we haven't done anything to this car. We've just left it the way we got it from Mitsubishi. And you can see how quite easily this car will go over all the ramps here, do the log crossings, go up and down the shipping containers and so forth. And I can tell you, Hilux, Land Cruiser, Ranger, all the others, they'll all do exactly standard. They'll all do exactly the same. Now, if you look at Gavin Coleman there, wave your hands around, Gav. Well, there you go. Gavin Coleman is a certified level 2 BMW instructor. I know there's only 2 of those in Australia. I'm one and he's the other. And what I can tell you guys, when you look at cars like X6 and X5, for example, you'll be surprised how capable an X5 is. Probably a lot more capable than you might think. We could get the X5s through some pretty gnarly situations. The only downfall, I guess, when you start going to those more sort of soft-road or four-wheel drive things like an X5 is they suffer from lack of ground clearance and also they suffer from the lack of low range as well. But you'll be surprised. Am I lying, Gav? I'm not lying, am I? You can get those cars. You'll be surprised what you can do with an X5. What I'll say to you is most people buy an X5 for the badge and drive it up and down Chapel Street, but you'll be surprised, number one, how well they tow, number two, how capable they are off-road. You can do sort of mild water crossings and you could go over these logs and up and down the hills and everything like that in an X5, absolutely no problem at all. So there you go, guys. I'm done. Just before I go, I'll just remind you of who we are and where we're from. We're from Driver Dynamics. I've got my 3 legends here. Gavin, thank you very much. Darren, thank you very much. That's you can thank me later for embarrassing you guys. And my gorgeous safety girl today, Tanisha, in the passenger seat. We run the advanced driving school here, guys. So we run defensive driving courses here. We run advanced driving courses here. We run track days here. We run a junior driver experience here for 12 to 16-year-olds. We run a motorsport development program. We also run counter-terrorist program here today, which I can't really tell you very much about. But that's it for me now. I hope you might have have learnt maybe a little bit. If you're a hardcore off-roader, you probably learnt nothing. But if you do own a four-wheel drive and you've never been four-wheel driving before, hopefully I've shown you how easy it is for you to get your car dirty and go out and enjoy yourself. So these cars ultimately were made to play around in the dirt, so don't be afraid to do them. You don't need to be a hardcore expert to do some basic four-wheel driving in these cars. And as I said about 5,000 times now, you'd be surprised how capable a modern, comfortable new four-wheel drive is. Thanks for your time today, guys. Enjoy the show.